2.
And we are live.
Live.
Hello, Podfeed.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good.
I was complaining in the pre-show. I'm so sore. I did a strength workout with Sam Sanchez, and I can barely, like, going down the stairs is basically ow, 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 every single step. Jeez. So we were discussing how to configure iStat menus, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to change what I'm presenting, Steve, because I want to show it to you, because I may never find it again.
Okay.
So I'm going to share a window, and it's going to be this one. So you should see my iStat menus available there.
Okay.
All right, so if we start from the top, you might see this, but the third one down, or fourth one down is CPU and GPU. Look at this little thing right here where it says plus. That's where you can change how it shows. So there's the GPU. You can have the graph this way. So now I think I should be able to see that. Yeah. I see my GPU graph.
Okay, so I see the plus next to CPU.
Yeah, so click the plus and you can add other things. So I just added GPU. You can't see the drop down, I'm sure, but I'm hitting the plus button and you can change what you're looking at.
I thought that plus changes how you view the CPU, because I'm in the CPU.
The top half of the drop down menu is CPU. The first section, the second section is GPU, then it's frames per second, then load average and spacer. So if you select the history, it'll show you the graph for if you show history under GPU, you'll get the graph. I don't know how you make it go away though, because I don't want that. All right.
We'll do this later.
We can play with it later. Yes. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'm going to go back to present. We're going to go share screen. This is okay because I only have 2 things to read, so we're just going to do whatever we want. There we go. We're back up.
All right.
So it's hot in Nevada. It's raining in Maryland. No, Virginia.
And it's kind of in the middle here.
Yeah.
In the high 60s, low 70s.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we might be ready to go.
Yeah.
It is not going to... Oh, it's 100 degrees still. I had to go outside to get warm today. It was too cold inside.
Have you had any days under 100 yet this year, this summer, Sandy? Since the big heat spell?
Oh, yeah. John, your weather's okay? You weren't impacted by the hurricane?
Right, that's right. Alabama, yeah, that could have... Maybe they're a little west of where the hurricane went.
Let's see. Hazel is not cleaning up on my PBS directory. All right.
Thank you for providing that in Fahrenheit, Zoe.
That was nice of you. All right. I should probably start recording. What do you think?
I think so.
All right, here we go. Places, everyone. Oh, roll call. We've got Seamus and Kevin and Frank and Jill and John and Sandy and Steve and Zoe. A tight but happy little group here.
You know, anyone else in the sidebar we may have missed? I don't think so. I think that's everybody. Well, pipe up if your name wasn't... Ooh, that's beautiful.
There's some photos from Jill of her camping photo.
Nice.
Yeah, look, I love the caterpillar. All right, you guys enjoy that. I'm going to do some work here. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, September 29th, 2024, and this is show number 1012. What do you think, 1012 or 1012?
No. 1012.
Oh, 1,012? No, I'll give you 1,012, but not 1,012.
Okay, 1012.
Okay, I'll re-record that.
Well, what you want is consistency. What did you say last week?
Okay, here goes. Okay, Steve says I should have said 1,012, but that's too many syllables, so maybe I'll go with 1,012. 1012? I don't know. We're going to have to come up with a consistent way of naming these, but I'm getting used to this 4-digit number thing. Okay, guys? All right, there you go. All right. Save. I should do that. Chapter mark. Copy link. Done. All right. Oh, I don't do I don't think I do a sound. I don't do a what do you call a bumper for the first one, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. Here we go. In Programming by Stealth this week, we had a very unusual lesson. Bart Buchatz and I are both students, while the instructor is the delightful Helma van der Linden. Okay, you got to pronounce her name correctly. In Programming by Stealth this week, we had a very unusual lesson. Bart Buchatz and I are both students, while the instructor is the delightful Helma van der Linden. We learned about Model View Controller last time with Bart, kind of the structure and what it's for and why you would have this design pattern for how you organize your code. But this week, Helma teaches us how she implemented this Model View Controller thing for our project xkpasswd-js. That's the project that's controlling the code that you see when you go to xkpasswd.net to generate your long, strong, and memorable passwords. Now, I'm confused a lot in this episode, but with Helma's patience and Bart jumping in from time to clarify things for me, and sometimes Helma has to clarify things for Bart, I think they succeed at helping me understand this newfangled structure of our code. I should mention, by the way, I'm calling it newfangled, but Model View Controller's been around for more than a decade. I forget how long, maybe it's 20 years. In any case, look for Programming by Stealth in your podcatcher of choice, and you can follow the link in the show notes to follow along with the show with Helma's fabulous tutorial show notes. I guess I could have said pbs.bartificer.net, but I forgot, so we're not going to. All right, next I'm going to put in a bumper. Bumper's going to go here. So it's a good thing. Oh, let's see. Oh, those are out of order. Sorry. I need to do those in the next two things in the opposite order. Steve Presentify is going to be first. Actually, do you want to change it? No. I'll change this one. You can change things in the podcast, the blog post, but I think for this I do it. Okay, so it's going to be Presentify first.
So do you want me to change the blog post?
No.
Okay.
Not for the actual show. Does that make any sense? Like if it's a blog post, like if I make a mistake in that blog post, yes, but not the post for the NosillaCast.
Okay.
Not for the NosillaCast. I'll do those changes if I do anything. The MVP of MVC. There you go. Okay. Come on. Be in the right window. There you go. All right.
Do you want that chapter? Okay.
Well, I'm going to move it over to right about where I'm going to start talking. All right, here we go. Oh, I got to open it up the post. Here we go. When I was preparing my workshop for Macstock, I knew that I'd be in a big room with the audience pretty spread out and far away. I was going to be teaching my Tiny Mac Tips series, so it was going to be a live demo. I started looking around for some apps to help make the experience better for the audience. The first thing I knew I would use is the accessibility setting that allows you to scroll with your trackpad or mouse to zoom in and out on the screen. If you haven't ever enabled that, no matter your age or visual acuity, I highly recommend having it enabled. To enable the feature, you open System Settings, Accessibility, and go to Zoom. First, you toggle on Use Scroll Gesture with modifier keys to zoom. Now, the default modifier key is Control, but you can choose to change that if you like. The default zoom style is full screen, which I favor, but you can change that behavior too. I do like the full screen best, so I don't change anything in here other than toggling it on. You can play with the options and see which makes the most sense to you. Once you have this scroll to zoom feature turned on, it's handy for your own needs, like trying to see the ever-shrinking road names in Apple Maps, but it's terrific when doing a presentation. During MacStock, I probably used Control Zoom 30 or 40 times to show people what I was doing on stage. In fact, I taught it as one of the tiny tips, and then every time I used it, I mentioned that I was using that same thing, Control Zoom, so they could see what I was doing. And I think if they remembered anything, it was probably to do this one feature. So you do have to get into your mindset to always picture yourself as sitting in the back row and trying to see. While you're picturing yourself in that back row, also remember to repeat the questions when people ask them and they're not on mic. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when someone on stage doesn't repeat a question because they heard it just fine, and you know the people in the back or the people who watch it recorded later can't hear. So you'll often hear me in the middle of a presentation going, "Repeat the question," even if I could hear. I'm doing it for the people in the back and the people on the recording. All right, so that Control Zoom trick helps the audience, but I started wondering whether there were apps out there that would add even more enhancement to the user experience during my presentation. I decided to start my search in Setapp, and I found an application called Presentify by Ram Patra from presentifyapp.com. The problem Presentify sets out to solve is to help you draw attention to something on screen while presenting using arrows, boxes, circles, and text. Presentify is available for a one-time cost of $7 in the Mac App Store, or you can get it with your Setapp subscription. In the Mac App Store, you'll see in-app purchases, but Ram added that simply as a tip jar, just in case you keep using Presentify and you want to throw him a bit more money because he's doing a great job keeping the app up to date for you. I like that approach. $7 for life and all versions is a great deal, but obviously a developer could use some more funding from time to time to keep the app in active development. You can control Presentify's functionality completely through keyboard shortcuts, or you can use the Presentify menu bar app. By default, if you toggle on Presentify, you'll see a floating control strip at the top of your screen. You'll see 5 colors to choose from, along with icons for freeform drawing, arrowed lines, rectangles, ovals, and text. You pick a color, tap on an icon, and then draw away on your screen. I'm not much for that whole free-form scribbling thing. I'm a little too structured, but I love being an obvious rectangle or a nice arrowed line to point at something. I've never been a fan of ovals and circles because it's always so hard to encompass the item you're trying to highlight, but a rectangle or an arrow usually works better. When you're doing a presentation, it's pretty rare that you would want to have an annotation stay up on screen indefinitely, so Presentify automatically has the annotations fade away after 2 seconds. Next to the 5 colored icons, there's a curious icon of 2 kind of intertwined curvy arrows. This delightful option creates annotations that are gradients of random colors. So you draw a rectangle and it goes from purple to pink to yellow maybe. Now, while I wear rainbow patterned prescription glasses, I tend towards plain old red for my annotations. If it brings you joy, though, Presentify has you covered with a rainbow option. Now, the final control on this little control strip is an eraser. You can use that to quickly erase an annotation you've just put on screen. The floating control strip is visible to your audience. If you think that's distracting to your intended audience, from the menu bar app or with a keyboard shortcut, you can choose to annotate without controls. Once enabled, hit the F key for freeform, R for rectangle or square, C for circle or oval, A for arrow, or T for text. I figured all of those out just by poking the keys. Getting out of text is a little bit harder because if you type R, it would type an R instead of invoking the rectangle. So it's hard to get out of text. I couldn't find an easy way to get out of it other than to hit Escape twice or Control A, which disables Presentify, and then you can hit Control A to turn it back on. I feel like there should be a way to get out of text, but I never did find it other than the 2 ways I just explained. Probably the most useful option in Presentify is called Interactive Mode. In this mode, you can toggle back and forth between interacting with your applications and annotating the screen. First, you enable interactive mode from the menu. You'll see a brief pop-up telling you to hold down the Function key, or FN, to enable interactive mode. Then from the menu, enable Presentify with or without the on-screen control strip. Now, let's say I'm flipping slides in Keynote using my keyboard, but I want to draw an arrow. I simply hold down the Function key, type the letter A, and I can draw that sweet arrow to point to something in my presentation. I can let go of the function key, and I'm back to interacting with my Mac. It's often useful to have your cursor highlighted in some way so the distant audience doesn't have to try to find that tiny pointer. Presentify has you covered here too. With the highlight cursor option, your cursor is surrounded by a big pink hollow ring. You can't miss it. Now, I told you I figured out the keyboard shortcuts for the different tools by experimenting, but then I discovered that if you have Presentify enabled to annotate, you get another option in the menu bar to view all annotate shortcuts. And boy, howdy, are there a lot of them. You can select the color by number if you can remember 5 numbers, like is 5 pink, is 3 blue. You got to remember that. You can increase or decrease the line weight with the right-left square bracket tools. Not tools. Left-right square bracket. I escaped twice and they locked me up again. You can increase. Thank you, Kevin. You can increase or decrease the line weight of your annotations with the right-left square brackets. That one's really easy to remember because it's standard in a lot of image applications like Apple Photos, Affinity Photo, and Photoshop. There's a highlighter you're supposed to be able to invoke with H, which works well in regular annotate mode, but if you're in interactive mode, macOS takes over that keystroke and shows you your desktop with function H. Likewise, after you enter some text on screen with Presentify, you can simply scroll on your mouse or trackpad and the text will shrink or embiggen. I discovered in the Annotate Shortcuts menu that you can invoke a whiteboard mode. This covers your entire screen with the exception of the menu bar at the top with a gray rectangle that you can draw on. I'm not really sure that's super useful only with a trackpad or mouse to draw, but maybe there's some use cases you can think of. There are 3 tiny tips at the bottom of the Annotate Shortcut screen. As is true in many annotation tools, you can hold down the Shift key to draw a straight line with the freeform line tool. I might use it then if I could do a straight line. If you hold down the Option key while you're drawing a rectangle or circle, it will fill with a semi-transparent circle or rectangle. Finally, if you hold down the Control key while you're drawing, you can toggle the auto erase behavior. In general, I think it's a good thing that the annotations fade away after a few seconds, but sometimes you might want one to stay. So it's cool you can hold down the Control key to get it to stick around. Now you'd think I would be done describing a $7 app by now, wouldn't you? Close, but the settings for Presentify give you even more control. On the General tab, you can start Presentify at login, and you can also have your cursor highlighted with that big pink ring right when the application launches. Maybe you have a giant screen or multiple screens and you're always losing your cursor. This could be handy to keep an eye on it. On the Annotate tab in Presentify, you can change the 5 color choices for annotation, or as Ram refers to them, your favorite colors. You get to choose the 5 colors. Tap each one, and you get the standard Apple color picker to change the color. You can change the default line weight too. Let's say you're always using the left bracket to shrink the line width on your arrows. You could just change it in the settings from bold to regular to thin. Remember the FN key invokes interactive mode? Well, if you've never figured out what the caps lock key is for on your keyboard, here's a hint. It makes the keys capitalized. Anyway, if you've never figured out what that key is for, you can use that instead of the function key in the settings. Screen annotations with Presentify vaporize in 2 seconds, like I said, but you can change that to anywhere from 0 to 10 seconds, and you can even disable auto erasure of annotations. That explains why there's a manual eraser in the set of tools. Our cursor highlight has some options too. If you don't favor pink for some reason, you can change the color. You can change it from large to small so the little ring is kind of tighter in. You can make the border of the ring dashed instead of solid, and you can change the opacity of the ring itself. By default, it's 75% opaque, but you can set it from 0 to 100. And we talked about keyboard shortcuts, and in settings, you can change the 3 main shortcuts: toggling annotations, toggling whether you see annotation controls, and toggling the visibility of the highlight cursor. You can change which shortcuts apply to those. The bottom line is that if you want to maybe keep your audience awake a little bit longer by adding annotations to your screen during live demos or canned presentations, I think Presentify for the grand sum of $7 might be just what you need. Again, you can find it in the Mac App Store, or it's included in your setup subscription.
So where does the term "boy howdy" come from? Where did you get that? Because I don't hear too many people using it.
Wondering whether it's like, is there some relative of mine that used to say it?
Could it be a Midwest thing?
I don't know, Jill. Is that a Midwest thing?
Or Justin
Robert Young does it.
Maybe that's where you got it.
He says, "Boy, yeah." He did. No. I've been saying "boy howdy" a long time. I don't know. He does say it now that you've mentioned it. So it's not a Midwest thing. I don't have any relatives I can ask. Woo! Ah! That Keycaster link is wrong.
Wait.
I gotta go get the real one.
Oh,
the one I put in the show notes. Hold, please. I did publish the Keycaster one, right? Yeah, it's there. When did I must have pasted it in before I hit save. Where'd you go, Keycaster? There it is. There you go.
Looks like it was September 26th.
Huh?
That you posted the
No, I wrote it today. Keycaster?
I'm sorry. I was thinking the one you just did. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Used to hear it more. Yeah, I'm kind of old school, you know. Okay, let's see. Oh, open it up. All right.
Generally attributed to Texans.
What's that?
Maybe, so he does live in Austin.
Oh, come on.
I don't know if he grew up there.
There has to be a tool available where we could find out the answer to this question, don't you think?
Well, I think John just looked it up.
I think he wrote that. John, did you look that up, or did you make that out of your own head?
Web.
Well, the web never lies.
Well, it's on this kind of thing, it's generally pretty accurate.
Steve.
What?
It depends on where he got it. If he got it from, IHateSoutherners.com or something.
It doesn't appear biased in any way. It doesn't read that way, does it to you?
Maybe it's Texas taking credit for everything. It's probably Canadian. I don't know.
Right.
Okay, you guys keep doing research. I'm going to need a corroborating story of that. Oh, Kevin, I will shoot myself in the head before I'll move to Texas. I shouldn't say that with one of my kids living there, but, All right, here we go. Well, you just heard me explain how I use the app Presentify to annotate my screen during that workshop I was teaching at MacStock. The problem I solved was that the audience was spread out in a large room and I needed them to see the detail I was showing on screen. I did use the control zoom feature that I talked about, and Presentify did a lot to help the audience. But there was one more thing I wanted to solve. The workshop I was teaching was my Mac Tiny Tips, or is it Tiny Mac Tips? I think I named that wrong. Tiny Mac Tips implies the Mac is tiny. Anyway, I was teaching my Tiny Mac Tips series, and a lot of these tips involved using keyboard shortcuts. Now, I'm pretty good about saying things like hold down Control-T with your cursor between two characters that you want to swap. But it would be more vivid if they could see the keystroke when I was talking about it. I've used various tools over the years to display keystrokes, but they were generally inside tools for creating screencasting tutorials. I needed a tool that was independent of any other application. In my hunting, I found an open source free tool called Keycaster. And it's kind of one of those old school, you remember when they used to pull vowels out, like Tumblr, took the E out? There's no E at the end of Keycaster. It's Keycastr. Now, I don't want to scare you off if you're not a programmer, because the way you get Keycaster is a teeny, tiny bit nerdy. However, the application itself is not one teeny bit nerdy. You don't get Keycaster from the Mac App Store, and you don't download it from the developer's website exactly. You have two options. So let's back up a second. Imagine you're on a normal site for an app. How do you get an app? You see a big button highlighted that says download. A single click downloads the app, and sometimes it's a zip file. You double click the zip file and you've got your app ready to move to your applications directory. With KeyCaster, it's exactly like that, except the website is the developer's GitHub repository. You have to click a link to download the zip file, open the zip, and move the app to your applications directory. It's exactly the same. The only difference is that there isn't an obvious single download button. I put a screenshot in the show notes of the GitHub repo for KeyCaster, but let me explain what you're going to see. In the upper left, you'll see that you're in the Code tab in GitHub with the Releases tab highlighted, sub-tab really. That makes sense, right? We want the released version of the software. Now, the obvious attention-grabbing section on the page currently says, as of the time that you're hearing this, Fix Modifier Detection on Intel. Okay. Turns out that's the name the developer gave when committing the changes to the app that fixed the latest bug. That title has no meaning, zero meaning to you whatsoever, and might even make you give up because you're running on an Apple Silicon Mac, not an Intel Mac. In fact, that was my first reaction. Now, I'm saying that I'm reading to you what it says right now. It might say something completely different by the time you read or hear this article because it's the notes on the latest bug they fixed in the current release. So if they fix another bug between when I'm saying this and when you're hearing it, that title's going to be something different. So don't get scared away. I assure you, you are still in the right place. Below this headline, that's kind of weird, that's just the name of the bug fix, you'll see a section called Assets. Under Assets, you can see 3 links. The second 2 both talk about source code, and unless you're a developer who wants to change the tool, you want to stay away from the source code. That leaves only one option. It says keycaster.app.zip. This is the link you want to click. This is the zip file. Now remember, all you're doing is going to the developer's site and clicking a link to download the app zip file. I went to such great lengths to describe this page because I used to run away when I was sent to GitHub repos because I didn't know what to click or what all this glop on the page meant. So now we've downloaded KeyCaster in a single click. I mean, literally, you're going to go to the website I'm going to send you to, and you're going to click this link. Now that we've got it there, we've downloaded it, double-clicked it, and we've installed it. Now KeyCaster acts like any other Mac app. In fact, while I was working on this review of the tool, I got a pop-up when I launched KeyCaster telling me I had an update to the app. I didn't have to go to GitHub. I didn't have to mess around in there. I just agreed to install the update. So it acted just like a normal app because it is a normal app. Now, the second option to install KeyCaster is through Homebrew. And we've talked about Homebrew before and how it's nerdy but easy. If you have Homebrew installed, the command on the terminal is brew install cask KeyCaster. That's it. All right, instead of starting at this installation page for KeyCaster, you can take a look at the homepage of the KeyCaster repo where they explain a bit about the project and they include some cursory usage information and some nice screenshots. So I put a link in the show notes to the repo itself, the upper level repo that gives you a little bit more information. But if you follow my first link, that's straight to the download. All right, this was an awfully long lead up, so let's finally have some fun with KeyCaster. Once you launch the app, it can run as a menu bar app or as a normal app. As soon as you choose to start casting, when you use a keystroke using any kind of modifier key, in the bottom left corner of your screen, you'll see the keystroke displayed. Now, this little display is very small and subtle by default. It's got a tiny white font and it's on a kind of a dark gray black bezel background. After you type the keystroke will fade away in about 2 seconds. Now, while technically KeyCaster has fulfilled its promise of showing our keystrokes on screen, I don't find that the default settings are nearly as dramatic as I need them to be so that Dr. Drang can see what I'm typing from the back of the room at Macstock. Now that's where the preferences for KeyCaster come into play. The first tab in Preferences is the General tab, where you'll choose whether to run KeyCaster as a menu bar app, as a regular app, which is often referred to as in the dock, or you can have it be in both places. I like it as a menu bar app since there's really not very much to it. By default, you can toggle, sometimes they call it capturing, sometimes he calls it casting, but you can toggle this capturing using the keystroke control. Too clumsy. Hey, you're ahead of me, Steve. By default, You can toggle this capturing or casting of this little display using the keystroke Control-Option-Command-K, but you can change that. Also, by default, preferences will show at launch, and of course you'd want to turn that off almost immediately. The second tab, Display, is where the meat of KeyCaster lives. At the bottom of the display preferences, you can change the color of the bezel and the text. Screencast Online tutorials are created using an app called ScreenFlow, which can record and display keystrokes automatically. We use a nice, translucent, very professional-looking dark gray with white text, and that's great for these professional recordings. But I gotta tell you, if I'm gonna keep the MacStock audience awake, I gotta do a lot more than that. So I changed the bezel color to bright red. By default, the font size... That's a little more noticeable, right? By default, it has a font size slider, and it's almost all the way down to tiny, so I dragged it up to huge. Now on my 13-inch MacBook Air, the keystrokes are more than 20% of the height of the screen. Anyone watching my demos would be able to see these keystrokes from the International Space Station. So I explained that the keystrokes fade away after about 2 seconds. Just like it was with Presentify, you can change how quickly they fade using the Linger Time slider. You can slide it all the way down to Instant, which isn't very useful, or all the way up to Long, which I timed at around 7 seconds. That's kind of annoying and could probably be distracting. I find the default right around the middle is just right, but you can mess around with it to see what works for you. While you're messing around with the linger time, you might as well play with the slider for fade duration. You can have your keystrokes blink off instantly, or you can make them fade, and I'm quoting here, fast-ish. Now there's one slider in display preferences, actually there's two, but the first one that baffles me is entitled Line Break Delay. It goes from short to long, and the tip says length of time before the line breaks. Okay, what line? We don't have any lines, we've got text. And why is the line breaking? To try to crack the code on this critical line break issue, I played around with some other useful settings. Display mode by default has the radio button selected for command keys only. I'm not sure where they got the definition for command keys, but if you have this selected, it means that if you use either the command key or the control key with any other key combination, that will be displayed in the little display of KeyCaster. But if you hold down, say, Option D, KeyCaster won't display anything on screen. If you hold down Command Option D, both the command and option symbols will be displayed along with a capital D, even though you just held down a lowercase d. Now, if you switch the display mode to all modified keys, now any modifier key you use will be displayed. In addition to Command and Control, both Shift and Option will display when you add a character to the keystroke. That's kind of where I expected it to be. I'm not quite sure why Shift and Option get left out. Now, the last one, if you really want to drive your audience nuts and drive yourself nuts, you can choose all keys under display mode. KeyCaster will literally display every single key you hit. If you type fast enough, you can type out entire sentences that will fill your screen. You'll even see the symbol for the space key between your words. Now, this option was the one I thought might give me a clue on that line break delay thing. I hypothesized that if I set the line break delay to long, when I typed so much text that the characters went to the edge of the screen, there would maybe be a delay before it broke to the new line. See that line break? I thought that's what it might mean. No. Short and long and the line break delay slider had no effect on what I saw when I typed enough to fill my entire screen. I'm afraid this one's going to be left a mystery. I'm glad I experimented with the all keys display mode because I thought of a use for it. I have to get my eyes dilated twice a year, and I hate how long it takes for my pupils to shrink back to normal. I even make them give me a half dose, or if they have it, the baby dose, like the ones they use on little kids, because this medicine is so effective, excessively effective, on dilating my eyes. One of the main reasons I find it so irritating, other than that I can't go outside because the sun hurts, is that it's hard to play on my computer because I can't see when I'm typing. With KeyCaster, I could at least have my own text blown up huge on screen as I type so I could see if I was making typos. If I see a problem while I'm typing, I could use the Control Zoom accessibility setting I told you about to find the mistake and fix it. Hey, it's worth a try as a solution. Now, there's another option I don't understand from the display mode settings. It's a checkbox that says Apple modifiers. And this checkbox can be added to any of the 3 display modes we just talked about. So command keys only, all modified keys, and all keys. You can add this checkbox for Apple modifiers to that. I tried toggling Apple modifiers on and off with the other 3 options, and for the life of me, I can't see what it's supposed to be changing. Now, one thing you might expect to find in display preferences is a way to tell KeyCaster where on screen you'd like to display the keys. I mentioned that it was in the bottom left, but wouldn't you think there'd be like a left, center, right at least, where you wanted it on your screen? Well, there's a hidden feature, but you can simply drag the display anywhere you want on the screen, and KeyCaster will remember it for the next time it's invoked. Now, you might want to slide the linger time up a bit so you have enough time to drag the little display to your desired position, and then put linger time back to where you like it. Now, in my review of Presentify, I explained how the app can show your cursor as a big colored ring as you move it around on screen, defaulted to pink. Well, maybe that's a little too much distraction, and you just like to see it highlight where you've clicked on the screen, not always showing your cursor. KeyCaster has this option under a dropdown called Display Mouse Events. It's off by default, but you can choose from 3 options. The first is called With Mouse Pointer. And that means wherever you click, a thin red circle will briefly appear. I wish it would show a bit longer, or at least be controllable by that linger time slider, but it has no options. You click and it goes blink, and that's it. Disappears. Now, the second option is With Current Visualizer. This one's kind of odd. When you click, you see a representation of the Apple no-button mouse where you normally would see those modifier keys showing up in the little display. It does show modifier keys as well, but it's kind of a shared interface. I guess its job is to alert people that you've clicked, but it doesn't show them where. If you want to really confuse the audience, you can choose With Pointer and Visualizer. This gives you the thin red ring where you click and gives you that representation of the mouse. It's very busy, especially if you've made your visualizer giant and red like I have. So finally, I'm going to tell you about the very first option on display preferences. It says Selected Visualizer, and there's a drop-down that says Default. That's what's selected. In other words, everything I've been teaching you about changing is the default method of working with KeyCaster. The only other option in this drop-down is called Svelte. With Svelte, you can't change the font size or the bezel color. You can't change the linger time or the delay. Instead, you get a medium-size, dark gray translucent box that shows the modifier key symbols across the bottom. So you see the symbol for Shift, Control, Option, and Command. When you hold down one of these keys, they light up in the KeyCaster's floating display. You have one toggle to work with, and that's to display all keystrokes or not. You can also set whether to display mouse events, but from keystrokes, it's all of them or just these modifier keys. Now, I do have to say this Svelte mode is very clean, or Svelte as they say, but also whatever you type only shows for a brief instant in that Svelte display. I'd have to say it doesn't really solve the problem I was trying to solve because the keystroke isn't up there long enough for anyone but the most alert to notice. The bottom line is that KeyCaster is an open source solution under the BS3 license, and it's been freely available for the Mac since 2009. That makes me think I should go back through my show notes and see if I did know about this years ago. That's the kind of thing I would do. Anyway, it's a wee bit quirky to install if you've not done a GitHub installation before, and I did have a couple of times where it hung up and I had to restart it, but I'm running on Sequoia, so I'm going to forgive it for that. But remember, even though it does have this wee bit quirky way to install with GitHub, it's only a matter of clicking on the right thing, and now you know where to click. Since my workshop at Macstock was filled with keystrokes I wanted to teach, KeyCaster was the perfect tool to keep the hecklers in the back row engaged. Now, if anyone figures out what Apple modifiers and line break delay means, I'd really love to hear from you.
So is the Option key unique to Apple keyboards?
It's called Alt on Windows PCs.
Same function, same type of function.
Well, I don't know. I don't use Windows.
Because you said that, I thought you said Option was not one of the keys that was showing.
Yeah, it doesn't show Option or Shift. But if you say all
Shift
modifier keys, then it shows Option, Shift, Control, and Command.
There was I think you mentioned there was an option to have the Apple modifier keys active or something. Not true.
The Apple modifier keys.
You talked
Not
about Apple
sure.
modifiers. It's a checkbox that says Apple modifiers.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Could that be a button that enables the visualization of the option key because it's kind of Apple centric?
I don't know.
All right. Hey,
I could get it. Show my entire screen. Actually, you might want to go full screen. I want to show people what this looks like. Oh, you know what? Never mind. I don't have it installed on this one. What were you going to ask me, honey?
I seem to recall when you use that the zoom feature for your display for the people in the back of the room. I think everyone started using that afterwards.
Really? Did you start seeing it?
Well, I noticed several presenters. Dave used it, Dave Hamilton, and a couple others because they had some hard to read text.
Oh, really?
Now, I think they knew about it. I'm pretty sure Dave knew about it, but I'm not sure the others.
Why do you
did.
think he knew about it? Did you ask him?
No, I just
You just
the way he brought it
everything.
up. Well,
Yeah.
no, the way he brought it up, it looked like secondhand.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't.
You mean
look like,
second nature?
That's what I meant. Yeah, second nature.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Something exciting. Oh, the reason I called out Dr. Drang was I posted the Presentify blog post. I put it in Mastodon, and he wrote back and said I was one of those people in the back row, and it helped. And so that's
good.
why I called. And I didn't even talk to him at the event. He says, well, you did help me with my crocheting when Kelly was teaching us.
But you helped a lot of people.
I helped a lot of people, so I don't remember talking to him. And he's kind of a lurker guy anyway. I've met him at Max Talk before, but I was like, oh, man, you should have made sure I knew who you were.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Cool.
He's kind of a mystical creature. All right. Slower and easier to... What are you shooting? I don't want to hear about
They're shooting
whatever that is.
non-existent animals.
Okay.
Snipes and
Okay.
Sasquatch and things like that.
All right. I'll do a little quick bumper here. A bumper. And I'll move that about there. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Now, we don't have any new patrons or PayPal supporters to announce this week, so instead, I'm going to reiterate my thanks to Helma for supporting the work we do here. She spent a lot of time writing out those show notes, putting up with my overwhelming number of changes to those show notes, and then she asked for a play date so I could help her set up her mic correctly to get the best possible audio, and she let me teach her how to use Audio Hijack to record both her voice and me and Bart from Zoom. Then she put up with my constant barrage of questions and helped all of the listeners to learn a valuable new skill. I just wanted to bring that up again to let you know it's not just monetarily that people can help the show.
Boy, that's a pretty high bar.
Yeah, I know. I thought about saying, so if you too, and it's like, no, I shouldn't. Nobody needs to try to do that. But
Right.
it's sort of like in the category of
Sending
doing
in
a review.
Yeah, maybe a step above that.
Yeah, it was. Dagnabbit. I've still got the wrong. Wrong blog post for Keycaster. Good grief!
Well,
What-
it's showing up in mine fine, or in the the normal
okay,
WordPress.
blog post. Okay, going here. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to put it here. Okay, that's the right one. Let me make sure it's in the show. Am I just copying it wrong in the show notes every time? Oh, you know what I did? I fixed it in the show notes, but I didn't fix it in the chapter mark. That's why I had to do it twice. Okay, good. Mystery solved. So many mysteries. Okay. All right. Now we got another. Wait, what? Where am I?
Rogue Amoeba.
Oh. I got to go to this one. There you go. Thank you. Why is there audio there? Now, we don't have any new patrons or PayPal supporters. How did that get duplicated? Oh, no.
You
Okay.
put the
I put the title of Rogue Amoeba in the support the show, where the support the show link should be. And then, but I got to go to the end of that to here to do this one. And that's where I do the Rogue Amoeba discount. Okay, everybody, go to rogueamoeba.com. Buy anything you want there. It's 22% off right now with the coupon code 22 in all capital letters.
How long is that good for?
October 7th.
Mm.
Okay. Here we go. Speaking of Audio Hijack, right now, the makers of Audio Hijack, Rogue Amoeba, are having their 22nd birthday sale where you can get 22% off any and all of their tools if you use the coupon code 22, all capital letters. Now, you know I love all of their tools, especially Audio Hijack, Sound Source, and Loopback, just to name a couple of them. If you've been hesitant to buy because of the cost, I would jump on this deal before October 7th when it expires. All of their tools work with macOS Sequoia, and they vastly simplified the installation process. Now, this sounds like an ad, doesn't it? I am not advertising for them. I have never advertised for them. I'd love to get money for advertising for them, but they don't need to pay me because I say this stuff all the time. They've got fantastic support. These tools solve problems that nothing else could do. Probably one of the best Apple developers out there. Anyway, you can read all about this discount and about the new way to install their applications and get that 22% discount with the coupon code 22, all caps, before October 7th by going to rogueamoeba.com. And I'm not even going to make you learn how to spell Rogue Amoeba because it's hard. Just click the link in the show notes. I'm on my game. A whole lot of that was ad-libbed. So you know how...
A lot of ad-lib in there.
I always mention that I record my voice and Bart's, and Bart records his voice and mine, and I just explained that Helma did all of ours too. Mm-hmm. It's a really good thing because I didn't hit record this week on Security Bits, but Bart did.
Oh, so you don't have a clean copy of your voice?
It'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be fine. A lot of times I have used his on my side, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Boy,
but
that's a good insurance policy.
Yeah, belt and suspenders. All right, first, this is for Steve. Blink. There.
Wait, I didn't see it.
Oh, for the love of... I gave you a heads up. I said, this is for Steve.
My fingers didn't move.
Why do you have to see it? You have to hear it.
I want to see how marked it is. Go.
Blink.
Very good.
Oh, it's hard to get good help. All right. Maybe I'll say something at the end about Rogue Amoeba saved us. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for security.
Not bad.
Hello? Oh, I'm on the wrong track.
Uh-oh.
Bits with Bart Bouchatz. I don't think I can stand that. I have to be on my own track. Put you back up there. Well, that's that. How come there's no chapter mark? Nobody reminded me.
Well, he didn't give you a save.
Yeah, but there's no chapter mark. It just says save.
So here you do put the chapter mark ahead of the bumper, but here the bumper is just so integral to the show, to the
I think
segment.
so.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
That's cool.
All right. Link in the show notes. No one wants to see that. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchatz, and it...
My hands are in the air. I'm recording hands.
Oh, actually, you guys need to hear the beginning of this. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchatz, and it just took Bart and I 35 minutes to get Zoom and macOS on two computers and Audio Hijack and Sound Source to actually function. So don't touch anything, Bart.
My hands are in the air. I'm recording hands-free here. This is, yeah. You'd think after a decade and a bit of this, we'd have all of the kinks figured out and we'd never be surprised by anything. And then just out of the blue, it's like, no, not going to work today.
Whole new Whole new fun. In basically every app we needed to function was weird on both ends.
Yeah,
so that's fun.
and neither of us went Sequoia, because then we could have blamed ourselves for being silly, but neither of us did that.
No, it's not. Actually, that's pretty bad to do that right after I basically did an ad for Audio Hijack.
Stay patched, so you stay secure.
All right, I've got to talk about that because that was kind of funny. Now, it was a while ago that you guys heard this, but you might have found it ironic that I complained about the Audio Hijack and all the Rogue Amoeba tools right after telling you how great they are. We just went into a firestorm of weird. I don't blame them. I don't know what was going on. It was very, very strange. But I will give one more plug for Audio Hijack. As I've mentioned a bunch of times, I record my side and Bart's side on two separate tracks, and I separate them and put them into the show. Bart does the same thing, and so I actually take the clean version of him and the clean version of me from our two recordings, and I discard the other half of each one. But one of the reasons we do that is it's a belt and suspenders approach to doing the recording, and because we've been faffing about so much with all these different controls, I never hit my record button. So the reason you just heard Security Bits and more importantly, heard both sides of Security Bits is because Bart and I both do double enders and we record both. So we record both sides. So anyway, it does end up still being an ad for Rogue Amoeba. But that is going to wind us up for this week now. Did you know you can email me at allison@podv.com anytime you like? If you have a question or a suggestion, just send it on over. Oh, I just remembered something really important. There's no live show next week. We will not be here next week, and the show's going to come out early on Wednesday. All right, now you can remember everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed.com/Mastodon. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube like the kids do today, you can go to podfeed.com/YouTube. If you want to join the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack. And you can talk to me and all of the other lovely Nosilla castaways there. You can even go thank Helma for all of her hard work on Programming by Stealth. You can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeed.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, not next week, but the week after that, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. I'm sorry. We're going to Texas to help Kyle.
Yes, he's going to need it.
Yep, his wife will be out of town, and he's got all 3 kids by himself, and instead of his in-laws doing the work, we're going to be there to help him. Reminder to unmute. Oh, that's a new addition. I like it. That actually draws my attention. Why does it start lining up? Oh, because it's got something else at the beginning. Got it. That's weird, though.
I think it depends on how wide your Discord screen is, right?
No. But it's 4 lines in a row, and it goes at a diagonal.
Look how it changes. You can get it to...
Yeah, but why the way I am? Well, I guess you can't see my screen.
No.
I see 4 smiley faces at a diagonal, and then the second 5, the next 5 are straight up and down.
Yeah, I think it's because he's got some typing in the first sentence that
Steve
is
the Amazing
unique.
Producer. Steve the Amazing Producer. No, it's the same.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's weird. No, I'm not going to move there. I mean, I suppose if Lindsay and Nolan also moved to Texas, that's what it would probably take.
And then there would still be a lot of thought prior to making that decision.
Maybe we'd move to a nearby state and just drive in and out over the border or something.
That is odd.
Yeah, I don't know if you can't show that screenshot, can you?
Yeah.
I guess I could have pasted it into Discord. Yeah, duh. That was stupid. Yeah, see the way I see it? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is odd.
Where's Mike Price? He would know why that was happening. He's alert. All right, I'm going to count chapter marks.
All right, I guess I got to do it too.
My magical power.
All right, I got it. Do you have it?
How many? What do you got? 6. Good. Oh, I did a lot of editing on the audio with me and Bart and Helma. And by the way, you didn't notice I grammatically incorrectly said that other sentence? I said,
Me versus I, or I
I
versus
said it
me.
took Bart and I a long time. Didn't it? Took Bart and me a long time. You're not catching all my mistakes. Cringe. All right. Well, I think we're going to get out of class 6 minutes early today. What do you think of that?
That almost makes up for the 10 or 12 minutes late last time.
Well, they're sad they don't get a live show next week. So no
Yeah.
live show.
Well, I can still come into the Discord.
That's true. You can come in and chat with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You can still take out your trash. It's not too late. Kevin just put his slant on it. Nicely done. Zoe's probably happy she gets to bed at a reasonable hour.
Yeah.
Get Kyle on the show from Texas next week. You know, we
We've
could
thought
do it
about
from
that.
there.
But the kids, I don't think
And
you
it's
can
a
do it.
really echoey house. It's
Yes.
hardwood floors, and it's like cathedral ceilings. Like the second floor is like 2.5, almost 3 stories tall. I mean, it's huge, and it's loud. And there's 3 little kids, and they make a lot of noise. And it's
Now, there is the office.
there is the office, but where would you go?
Right. I have to go off into a bedroom or something.
Yeah, but none of the bedrooms have desks in them. But there is, between the 2 kids' bedrooms, there's a desk there. So as long as
Yeah.
the kids weren't upstairs anywhere, you'd be okay. Nothing like your house, actually, Kevin. It's big and wide open when you walk in. It's, like I said, 2 stories tall. It's got a spiral staircase, the hardwood floors. It's loud. It's very loud there. It's lovely. We love it, but it's loud. All right. Well, now I've blathered for another 2 minutes. We should go say goodbye to everybody. Hey,
Yeah.
when did Michael come in?
He came in a few minutes late, but
Michael,
that's fine.
I didn't see you come in.
Yeah.
Oh,
he bought a round. You just missed it.
Yes. Did you see that a dog threw out the first ball at the Dodger game? Who's the Japanese guy that's on the Dodgers now? Hoshi. That guy? His dog threw out the ball at one of the games.
Did
Ohtani.
he throw it out well?
He actually carried it. Apparently, he's become a celebrity. The dog has. Lindsay said he's a big celebrity at the games.
Is he?
People hold up signs, big posters of Ohtani and his dog.
What kind of dog is it?
Oh, like a
Mutt?
one of those little. No. What's that terrier that Fraser had that you liked?
Oh, yeah. Wired hair?
No. Kevin, you can't leave. Jack Russell. Thank you, Jill.
Yes.
Now we can go.
Now we can go.
All right, John's talking about football. I'm out of here.
All
Bye,
right,
everybody.
everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.